Welcome to Little Lucky Star, wishing you a good day. After my grandpa passed away, I descended the mountain to inherit the celestial Secrets Pavilion. On the very first day it opened, the antique shop owner next door came to inquire about buying the property. I casually made a hand seal, chuckled, and said, "It's useless to buy it. You might have the luck to earn money, but you might not have the life to spend it." He frowned, his face darkening as he cursed me for speaking ill omens. Yet less than 3 days later, he crawled back, covered in blood, begging for my help. "Master, please save my entire family. My name is Liu Defu. Defu, as in people follow the earth follows heaven, heaven follows the Tao, and the Tao follows nature." From a young age, I relied on my grandpa. Life in the mountains was desolate, and we had no land. He usually went down to the village to handle weddings and funerals, earning a small fee. Occasionally, for my tuition, he'd even dabble in quackery, left hand making seals, right hand holding a compass, feet treading the 7 stars. As the granddaughter of a charlatan, I was, of course, a little trickster myself. I was used to it since I was little, and following him, I learned quite a few of his tricks for manipulating people. Just as I was about to go to the capital for college, Grandpa passed away. "Oh, Grandpa Liu," I lamented, "you were finally going to enjoy life, but you left me. Why couldn't you have enjoyed it? You really didn't show me any respect." I knelt before his coffin, burning handfuls of paper money, grumbling and complaining that Grandpa didn't know how to seize opportunities. Next to me, the village chief, who was helping with the funeral arrangements, approached. He pulled out a rough cloth bundle from his clothes and placed it in my hand. The fabric looked old, clearly ancient, and held something strangely familiar. "Your grandpa anticipated this day, so he prepared this and asked me to give it to you." That evening, I packed my luggage and opened the cloth bundle. Inside were several ritual tools my grandpa often used when he was alive. He used to call them his trickster's tools: a geomancy compass, a bagua mirror, a demon-binding rope, and a half-meter-long, fiery red magic ruler that used to scare me as a child. The front of the ruler was engraved with the names of the 28 lunar mansions, and the back with the Big Dipper's 7 stars. I picked it up with a touch of nostalgia. When I was young and didn't study well, he'd just nag. But if I drew a talisman incorrectly, I'd definitely get a smack on the hand. At the bottom was an ordinary book on geomancy and numerology. I picked it up and saw a divination symbol drawn with a brush on the first page. This was a game Grandpa and I played since I was little. I calculated with my fingers. The hexagram pointed to a high place in the northeast. I immediately set up a ladder and found a box on the rafters. Inside were the deeds to a shop on the antique street in the capital. Old Grandpa Liu actually had a shop in the capital. Even though I've never been to the capital, no matter how remote the location, it's still property in the capital. I clutched the property deeds, grinding my teeth. "Old Grandpa Liu, you've put me through so much hardship. Tell me, all these years, what was I eating steamed buns for?" My mind flashed back to Grandpa Liu holding a steamed bun and a mantu, hesitating for a long time, then giving the mantu to me. Afterwards, he scrunched his wrinkled face and sighed. "I'm old, I need to nourish myself." All right, at least you had some conscience and didn't wait until I joined you in the afterlife to tell me." To save money, I took a hard-seat train for 2 days to reach the capital. With 2 days left until college started, I decided to visit the antique street first to check out the shop's location. I was mentally prepared for it to be in the suburbs, but when I arrived and inquired, it was within the Second Ring Road, the most bustling and prestigious antique street. Just asking around, any shop without 1 or 2 treasures worth billions or tens of billions wouldn't even dare to show its face. As I stepped onto the antique street, the shops were either magnificent and grand or ancient and solemn, making my heart pound with excitement. Am I about to strike it rich? Until I found the shop Grandpa Liu left behind. Of course I shouldn't have held out hope. The shop was dilapidated, even the wooden sign was missing a corner. Only the 3 ancient characters for Celestial Secrets Pavilion were somewhat intact. I sighed, took out the key, and tried to open the door. It had been too long, the lock was jammed. I had to use all my strength to push it open. The old wooden door creaked like a sound effect in a horror movie. Inside, dust flew everywhere and cobwebs covered everything. My heart turned cold. I somewhat didn't want to accept it. In the end, I resigned myself to fate, placed my box of tools at the door, rolled up my sleeves, and began to clean. The shop had 2 floors, the first for business, the second for living. I cleaned from morning till evening, only managing to tidy up the first floor and my sleeping spot on the second. As I finished wiping the floor, I wearily slumped onto the sofa when I saw a pot-bellied man in his 50s enter. Out of habit, I couldn't help but size him up from head to toe. When he looked at others, he held his head high, gazing down his nose, arrogant and self-satisfied. In his hand, he fondled a string of red coral beads. I thought this celestial Secrets Pavilion, left unattended for over a decade, belonged to some wise noble, but I didn't expect the owner to be a young girl like you. What can I do for you? He looked around the shop, finally nodding with satisfaction. I am the owner of the 100 Treasures Pavilion next door. I want to buy your shop to expand my business. Seeing you're so young, I won't trick you. A one-time payment of 30 million yuan should be enough for a little girl like you to live comfortably for a lifetime. I found it amusing. He actually thought I was a naive young girl he could bully. Though I was young, who didn't know the exorbitant property prices within the capital's second ring road? A 2-story shop, over 300 square meters combined, and such a prime location, this place was practically priceless. Mr. Liu, even if I dared to sell you this property, I'm afraid you wouldn't have the life to conduct business here. His hand, which had been fondling the beads, stopped. He frowned, his voice chilling. Little girl, are you cursing me? I chuckled, making a few hand seals right in front of him. I'm just speaking the truth, Mr. Liu, believe it or not. Recently, your household will receive news of a new addition, but sadly, not only will the child not be kept, but there will also be a bloody calamity in your home. Mr. Liu erupted, his face flushed as he argued back. News of a new addition? Everyone knows my wife is 3 years older than me. How could we have children? Little girl, speaking like that will offend people. With that, he quickly turned and stormed out in annoyance. As he reached the door, he even turned back, spat on the ground, and muttered, "Bad luck, believe it or not." A few days later, I started college. My archaeology major was quite laid back. Even if we were to excavate tombs later, we first had to start with general Chinese history and ancient world history. In short, it was all about memorizing. After a full day of memorizing history and documents, my head spinning, I walked out of the campus gate, intending to take the subway back to the shop. Right in front of everyone, a middle-aged man burst into tears and hugged my leg. "Master, please save my entire family." I looked closely. This blood-splattered man kneeling and hugging my leg was none other than Mr. Liu, the antique shop owner who had spat on my floor just a few days ago. Remembering that I had to clean the floor again, I turned to leave. He was too heavy, I couldn't pull him off. Oh, master, please save me. I was blind not to recognize your greatness." Seeing the curious crowd growing larger, and spotting a few familiar classmates nearby, I quickly covered my face and dragged Mr. Liu away. In the car, Mr. Liu wept bitterly, tears and snot streaming down his face. "Master, I deserve to die. Why didn't I believe you?" He explained how, last time, he thought I was cursing him and went home filled with irritation. Unexpectedly, less than 2 days later, his son, who didn't even have a girlfriend, was suddenly confronted by a B-list actress with a huge belly, claiming to be pregnant with a Liu family child. Her belly was alarmingly big. The woman herself only weighed 40–50 kg, but her stomach was perfectly round, her face pale, and her whole body lacked vitality. My son admitted to having been with her once. "I thought we'd let the baby be born for a DNA test, and then I'd come find you." But then, yesterday, something unexpected happened. After the actress Zhang Xin arrived, my wife and I were overjoyed. For the safety of the child, we decided to keep her at home and care for her, waiting for the baby to be born and paternity confirmed before deciding how to proceed. Last night, Aunt Sun, our housekeeper, went upstairs to bring bird's nest to Zhang Xin. As soon as she opened the door, a piercing scream erupted. Zhang Xin's beautiful face in the room was covered in purplish-blue veins, her neck contorted and twitching. Seeing the door open, she lunged at Aunt Sun and choked her. When my son and I heard the commotion and ran upstairs, Aunt Sun had already fainted. At that moment, Zhang Xin looked very abnormal. I pulled my son and ran downstairs. She didn't chase us but just stood on the second floor, throwing things down. My son and I weren't paying attention and got injured. My wife was so scared, she nearly lost her mind. This morning, as soon as I woke up, I immediately went to your shop, but you weren't there. I kept trying to contact you, and finally found out from the neighborhood management that you were still in college. I thought seriously for a moment, my expression a little awkward. Mr. Liu cautiously asked, Master, is it very difficult to resolve? No, not really. I'm just thinking about what to eat later. Mr. Liu, why don't we go to my place for a meal? I thought that sounded good. All right, let's go, and we can assess the situation there. At the dinner table, Mr. and Mrs. Liu and young Master Liu all wore somber expressions, while I alone ate heartily. After eating my fill, I gestured for Mr. Liu to lead me upstairs to investigate. Young Master Liu frowned, following behind with Mrs. Liu, believing he was whispering, Has Dad been tricked? So young and a woman, what can she possibly do? Mr. Liu, trying to curry favor beside me, seized the moment as we went upstairs to glare fiercely at his son. On the second floor, they all dared not open the door. I gestured for them to stand behind me. Creak, I pushed the door open a crack. I peered left and right through the gap, took a step inside, and came face to face with a purplish-blue face, head hanging upside down. Ah! Mrs. Liu behind me shrieked incessantly. Mr. Liu and young Master Liu also trembled in fear. Honestly, facing a ghost wasn't as terrifying as the piercing screams from behind me. I took a step back, pressed firmly on Zhang Xin's purplish-blue face, and pulled the unconscious girl out of the wardrobe. Come here and carry her to the bed. I looked at young Master Liu, who whimpered and shook his head, sniffling. I watched him unmoving. Mr. Liu next to him suddenly smacked his son on the back of the head, urging, Why aren't you going? Don't tell me you want your mother and me to go. Dad, Mom and I can't carry her because both of us, we're scared. Mr. Liu, you truly would let a fellow Taoist die rather than yourself. Seeing no other option, young Master Liu gritted his teeth and walked over, his face half closed, to lift the person from the floor onto the bed. As soon as he laid her down, Zhang Xin suddenly opened her eyes, gripped young Master Liu's arm tightly, and sat bolt upright. Arg! I quickly stepped forward, striking Zhang Xin's purplish-blue hand with the magic ruler. A golden light flashed, and she immediately closed her eyes and lay back down. Little Lucky Star wishes everyone a good day. You scared me to death. You scared me to death. I lifted Zhang Xin's eyelids and examined her palms, finally looking at her alarmingly huge belly. Master, what did you see? Mr. Liu, mustering all his courage, stepped in front of young Master Liu and nervously asked me. I gave him a look, performed some finger calculations, then patted young Master Liu's shoulder. I need a drop of your blood. Ah, can't you take my dad's blood instead? You two fathers and sons are truly filial. It almost brings tears to my eyes. I dripped young Master Liu's blood into the geomancy compass. It spun 3 times to the left, 3 times to the right, finally settling on the can hexagram, pointing due north. As soon as I saw the can hexagram, my eyelid twitched incessantly. In the I Ching, there are 4 great difficult hexagrams: Can, Kun, Kian, and Chun. Among them, Can is the most challenging. The Can hexagram is formed by 2 Can trigrams. Water flowing from above gathers in low places, signifying disaster and falling into danger. 2 connected Can trigrams further symbolize recurring misfortunes. It might seem unsolvable, but it's not. Grandpa once said, the great Tao is 50, the heavenly derivations are 49, leaving only 1 thread of life. The Can water hexagram has 2 yin lines above and below, and 1 yang line in the middle. The single yang trapped between 2 yin represents peril, but looking closely, there is a glimmer of life yin deficient, yang strong. If one deals with it calmly, seizing the opportunity, danger can surely be turned into safety. Let's go to Zhang Xin's home to see. On the way, Mr. Liu and young Master Liu, whose names I hadn't known, introduced themselves. Mr. Liu's name was Liu Defu. He only had 1 son, young Master Liu Tianyu. I nodded. This name isn't bad. Superior family background, bright appearance, destined for this one tribulation, but meeting a benefactor who will help him overcome it, isn't that what Tianyu, heaven's help, means? Young Master Liu Tianyu, sitting next to me, hesitated for a long time, finally asking worriedly, Zhang Xin, she won't die, will she? If we can resolve this before the baby is born, she'll live. Otherwise, even if I dug the old man out of his grave, I couldn't save her. Zhang Xin lived in the suburbs, renting a shared apartment with several other girls. As soon as we reached the door, I could already sense yin energy escaping. Liu Defu, seeing me frown, immediately fearfully stepped close behind me. Liu Tianyu, seeing this, also squeezed in with his father. I glanced, signaling for the 2 Liu family members to stand back a bit, then drew out my magic ruler, channeled spiritual energy, and kicked the door open. Inside the house, even in broad daylight, an eerie cold wind blew, and I felt a bone-chilling cold before even stepping in. I took a step forward. Before I was fully inside, I heard a woman's piercing, miserable shriek, followed by two girls with vacant eyes rushing towards me from within the house. Each received a kick to the head and a strike from the magic ruler. Both immediately stopped, closed their eyes, and fell. Two streams of black chi escaped their bodies, snaked along the door, and darted inside. I pursued without hesitation. Inside was a 3-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment. Following the black chi, I reached a wardrobe in one of the bedrooms. With one hand holding the magic ruler, the other formed a single-hand lightning fire seal. The magic ruler pushed open the wardrobe, and a cup-sized black shadow darted straight at my face. The lightning fire seal, formed with one hand, quickly thrust forward, colliding head-on with the shadow. Purplish lightning fire spread over it, and the black chi on the shadow immediately dispersed significantly. Though brief, I clearly saw its true form. Indeed, my guess was right. Aha! A piercing shriek shattered the window glass. It raised its head high, slowly spewing out yellowish corpse oil. The corpse oil, following the lightning fire, was able to extinguish it. Seeing it couldn't defeat me, it turned and ran towards the window. The magic ruler moved forward. It dared not touch it, cornered by me. Just as I was about to capture it, something unexpected happened. Outside the door, the two girls lay unconscious on the ground. The two middle-aged men and the young man were acting suspiciously, looking extremely dubious. So, the neighbors called the police. When I entered, I hadn't closed the door, so the police officers easily walked in. The two-handed seals I was making were not yet complete when I heard a rush of footsteps behind me. I lost focus for a moment, and the black shadow escaped through the broken window. And I, Lily, was successfully apprehended as a burglar and pinned to the ground. Name, Lily. Gender, I glanced at my chest, blinked. Female. You say you weren't breaking in to steal. Then why were you in Zhang Xin and Tong Linlin's rented apartment? I opened my mouth, hesitating. Officer, have you ever encountered a ghost? The two officers behind the desk exchanged glances, their eyes sweeping over the magic ruler, compass, and similar items on the table. What does that have to do with your illegal entry? All right. The officer clearly didn't believe me. I'm an archaeology student. Those are props I bought for a stage performance. Breaking in to steal property has nothing to do with me. I'm a good, law-abiding, science-loving citizen. As for why I was at the scene, I can only say it was out of overwhelming curiosity. I blinked my big, innocent eyes. Officer, Liu Defu is also someone I know somewhat, and I genuinely committed no crime. Finally, around 8:00 p.m., I successfully left the police station. As soon as I walked out, my heart was burning. I hastily led the two Liu family members back to their home. Master, have you seen clearly what that thing was? On the sofa, all 3 Liu family members huddled together, nervously looking upstairs. I threw a black card with a strange child's image printed on it onto the coffee table. This was something I quickly slipped into my pocket while it was escaping, when the police officer wasn't looking. This thing is very evil. Naturally, its true form cannot be left outside. It's a Thai Kuman Thong. Kuman Thong, I muttered, gripping my magic ruler with some annoyance. Who would have thought that just days after arriving in the capital, I'd encounter such a difficult situation? Thai Kuman Thong is divided into 2 types, the righteous Kuman Thong known as Luangpu and the evil Kuman Thong known as Achan. Luangpu are monks from reputable temples, so their Kuman Thong usually appears in the form of dolls. After consecration, they are worshipped before Buddha and over time, listen to monks chanting scriptures for blessings. As long as the worshipper does no evil, the Luangpu Kuman Thong will protect them. So, this one is an Achan Kuman Thong. I nodded, my expression grave. Achan are sorcerers, divided into white-robed Achan and black-robed Achan. White-robed Achan belong to organized magical orders, while black-robed Achan have no organization or temple. Therefore, the Kuman Thong of black-robed Achan are all made from raw materials, often infant corpses, rich corpse oil, or ashes. Similar to raising ghost children in China, they are very effective at attracting wealth. Unwanted in life, dismembered in death, how could it not harbor resentment? Zhang Xin is carrying your child, you too are its parents. Naturally, it would seek revenge on its parents and relatives first. The three Liu family members huddled together, their faces grim. In the first-floor living room at night with only 4 people, a cold wind still whistled through. Bang! A loud noise suddenly erupted from the second-floor window. Zhang Xin, her face purplish-blue, her body contorted like a spider on the ground, crawled towards the second-floor stairs, but only snarled fiercely at Liu Tianyu. Liu Tianyu asked in a trembling voice, "Why isn't she coming down?" I also felt doubt in my heart. My eyes casually swept around, and then I saw a half-meter-tall, benevolent golden Buddha statue on a display shelf next to the living room. The golden Buddha statue has been consecrated. It dares not approach. "Everyone, quickly stand at the foot of the Buddha statue. Don't move." The 3 hurried over. Seeing me walk upstairs, the Kuman Thong, controlling Zhang Xin, her face purplish-blue, lunged at me. Wherever she passed, she left behind yellowish corpse oil. I formed a lightning seal with one hand, just about to strike Zhang Xin's forehead. The Kuman Thong, having suffered in the wardrobe before, now took a step back. An invisible force from behind ambushed me, and my foot slipped, almost sending me tumbling down the stairs. The Kuman Thong, controlling Zhang Xin, pressed me against the second-floor railing, trying to push me down. My eyes lit up. How did it know I was waiting for this exact moment? I flipped us, switching positions. I pulled a yellow cord from my waist, wrapped it 3 times to the left, 3 times to the right, tightly binding Zhang Xin, who was pinned beneath me. Seeing she still wanted to struggle, I continuously struck her protruding belly 3 times with the lightning seal. Purplish lightning energy spread along the purplish-blue veins that popped up on her belly. The fierce and terrifying Kuman Thong revealed its true form, hovering above her belly, emitting a mournful shriek. Ah! Liu Tianyu, crouching near the Buddha statue, looked conflicted, taking a step forward, but his parents pulled him back. I saw that with just 2 more lightning seals, the Kuman Thong would vanish. The purplish-blue veins on Zhang Xin's body gradually disappeared, her pale face slowly regained some color, and her entire body began to revive. My hand, which was forming the lightning seal, was raised, but then I saw Zhang Xin's weak but firm hands clutching her belly. I looked up at her, she weakly spoke, My baby." The fierce and terrifying Kuman Thong, hearing this, its pitch-black eyes widening in horror, suddenly turned to look at Zhang Xin's face. I frowned, explaining to her, "Your child has already been swallowed by this Kuman Thong." Her eyes trembled. She struggled, wanting to sit up from the floor. Liu Tianyu immediately ran to help her, but Zhang Xin weakly pushed him away. Her body was too weak, but Liu Tianyu stubbornly helped her up again. After helping Zhang Xin sit on the sofa, Liu Defu and Mrs. Liu were somewhat afraid to approach. Liu Tianyu, however, bravely sat down beside Zhang Xin. The Kuman Thong, which had been incredibly fierce just moments ago, perhaps due to being severely wounded by me or trying to escape, said nothing more after Zhang Xin spoke. "You said my child was swallowed by it." I nodded. Zhang Xin was stunned. Without fear, she reached out and stroked the purplish-blue Kuman Thong's head. "So, it disappeared, or?" Her bloodless, pale face suddenly broke into a smile. She reached out and fully embraced the Kuman Thong. "Master, if I want to keep it, what price do I have to pay?" I frowned. "Keep it." Zhang Xin nodded firmly. "Master, perhaps you can see my family situation isn't good. My parents died young, and I've been lonely and without support since childhood. Having a child has always been my deepest wish." She looked at the Kuman Thong and smiled slightly, then touched her belly. "I have a premonition from this incident. I won't be able to have children again, so I absolutely must keep this child." My fingers formed seals, calculating for a while. I looked at Zhang Xin, then at Liu Tianyu, pondering for half a day, and finally nodded. Since the Kuman Thong issue wasn't fully resolved, Zhang Xin couldn't go to the hospital for recuperation for the time being and had to continue resting at the Liu family home. I raised my hand and called Mr. and Mrs. Liu over. Liu Defu's expression was respectful. "Master, you called me." I thought for a moment and decided to tell them, "Your son is fated to have only one child." I pointed to the Kuman Thong, now docile in Zhang Xin's arms. Liu Defu's eyes widened, and Mrs. Liu nervously tugged my arm, asking, "What do we do now? Is there another way, Master?" I pointed back at Zhang Xin. Liu Tianyu had found the chubby, palm-sized white porcelain doll I asked him to find, preparing for the Kuman Thong to inhabit it. At this moment, the two were choosing which one to use. Liu Defu swallowed hard, nervously asking, "What's wrong?" I sighed, chastising him for being foolish. "The good news is that your son has taken a liking to Zhang Xin. The bad news is that Zhang Xin is also fated to have only one child." Liu Defu listened, his face puzzled. This can also be considered good news. Mrs. Liu also began to worry. Master, please find a solution. Money is no object. Let's connect the dots. Zhang Xin wants to keep that Kuman Thong. Both she and Liu Tianyu are fated to have only one child, but that child, in its destiny, is not fated to be an only sibling. The couple was baffled. Zhang Xin is its mother, so its siblings would naturally be Zhang Xin's other children. This is also why I agreed to help Zhang Xin keep it. Ah, so we have to treat the child of another family well? I sighed. Just treat it normally. You and your family must accumulate virtue and do good deeds. Consider it accumulating blessings for it. Got it, got it. Have you two finished choosing which one to use? I placed a coin on the Kuman Thong's forehead. It looked strangely silly. The Kuman Thong's draining of Zhang Xin's vitality had been stopped, and her complexion looked much healthier. We've chosen, Master. I tied a red thread to Zhang Xin's little finger, the other end to the porcelain doll, then glued a soul-protecting talisman and a spirit-cleansing talisman together with the black card, placed them into the doll's base, and sealed it with red mud. My hands formed seals, and I continuously struck Zhang Xin's belly 4 times. Done! The 3 Liu family members simultaneously let out a sound of, "Oh." Zhang Xin immediately looked much more spirited, clutching the porcelain doll in her hand, pressing it to her face, and smiling. Finally, the task was complete. With a sigh of relief as I was preparing to pack my things and leave, I casually reminded Zhang Xin, in the future, don't casually invite this kind of Kuman Thong from uncertain or unsafe temples. Zhang Xin was stunned. I didn't invite any Kuman Thong. All 4 people in the room were simultaneously dumbfounded. I frowned, my voice serious. Then, after you became pregnant, did you do anything out of the ordinary? Zhang Xin thought for a very long time. I didn't do anything special because I valued this baby very much. Since I got pregnant, I've barely gone out. I even refused a supporting actress role when someone came to find me. As for anything special. Oh, last time my roommate, Sun Yuan, insisted on measuring my blood sugar. She used a needle to take 2 drops of my blood. Afterwards, when I asked if she was done, she said the blood sugar meter was broken. My heart pounded. Oh no, Master, what's oh no? I frantically calculated with my fingers while explaining. If Zhang Xin herself didn't invite the Kuman Thong, then the act of it consuming the mother's body doesn't make sense. I kept thinking the can hexagram referred to 2 dangers, the rented apartment and subduing the Kuman Thong. It seemed relatively simple. If she didn't invite it, then someone must be secretly controlling the Kuman Thong. My gaze fixed on Liu Tianyu. If Zhang Xin didn't invite the Kuman Thong and suffer a backlash, then it was aimed directly at you to cut off your family's descendants, to eradicate your family line. What a malicious scheme. Zhang Xin looked at Liu Tianyu, frowning, lost in thought. Suddenly, she asked, "The first time we met, Sun Yuan gave me a glass of wine, and afterwards I felt dizzy, and then it was the next morning." Liu Tianyu's entire body trembled. He said in surprise, "Me too. My cousin said there was a beautiful girl. I went there, and she gave me a glass of wine." "Your cousin, Wang Giazu?" Liu Tianyu nodded. Liu Defu's face turned dark. After a moment, he looked up and asked me, "Master, if you hadn't subdued the Kuman Thong, would my son have died this time?" Following their inquisitive gazes, I slowly nodded. Not just Zhang Xin and him. If there was no one to manage it, and someone was deliberately controlling it, your entire family might have been wiped out. Liu Defu gritted his teeth and cursed, "Beasts! Dad, what's wrong?" Liu Defu's ancestors were also from the capital. Tracing back a few hundred years, they might even find a prince. The family had been wealthy. From his great-grandfather's generation, the family fortune gradually dissipated, but Liu Defu luckily managed to revive his antique business, gaining some renown. He later married Mrs. Liu, a well-bred young lady whose parents died early, leaving her hundreds of millions in inheritance as their only daughter. The couple had a very loving relationship, and later had Liu Tianyu. Liu Defu had a younger half-sister named Liu Yuling, born to his father after his mother passed away, about 8-9 years younger than him. From a young age, she had a habit of being greedy. After Liu Defu and Mrs. Liu married, his sister-in-law often came to their house to plunder, but for a time, the couple didn't pay much attention. A few years ago, Liu Yuling came to their house demanding 50 million yuan, claiming it was to open a company for Wang Giazu. Everyone knew what kind of person Wang Yeazu was. Tianyu, though born later, was only 2 years older than Wang Yeazu, but my son could already help me with business, while Wang Yeazu just spent his days messing around. What kind of company could he possibly open? That time, the money demand failed. Later, one day, Liu Yuling came over as a guest, only to be caught red-handed by Mrs. Liu trying to open their safe and steal things. In a fit of rage, Liu Defu unilaterally cut ties with Liu Yuling, forbidding them from coming to their house anymore. If anything happened to our family, the assets would surely be inherited by relatives. What an excellent calculation. Mrs. Liu was also trembling with fear. Their relatives, how could they do such a thing for money? Liu Tianyu looked at his father, then his gaze shifted to Zhang Xin. He reached out and held her hand, his voice full of regret. I dragged you into this. Zhang Xin glared, shaking his hand off. What's with the act? She turned to look at me, her eyes a little brighter. Master, what do we do next? I pondered for a moment, 4 pairs of eyes fixed on me. My stomach suddenly rumbled. I scratched my head, a little embarrassed. I'm a bit hungry again. In the quiet atmosphere, the giggling sound of a child suddenly rang out. Annoyed, I poked the porcelain doll's forehead with my finger. Laugh again and I'll hit you. The compass spun, its mechanisms constantly changing. Mr. and Mrs. Liu drove ahead, leading the way. Liu Tianyu, Zhang Xin, and I, along with the porcelain doll, followed in the car behind. Liu Yuling's villa was in the suburbs. Most of the initial house payment had also been covered by Liu Defu and his wife. Hearing this, Liu Defu on the phone angrily cursed, Beast! Zhang Xin, both curious and fond, stroked the white porcelain doll when suddenly the doll let out a childish voice. Mommy! Zhang Xin's eyes widened. Liu Tianyu, driving ahead, immediately wanted to turn around, shouting with a touch of jealousy, Why didn't you call Daddy first? Only I faintly felt something was wrong. My fingers formed seals. Stop the car. Liu Tianyu was startled by my shout and instinctively slammed on the brakes. Mr. and Mrs. Liu, driving a few meters ahead, also stopped. Just as we stopped, a speeding truck zoomed past the intersection ahead. In that instant, everyone felt a chill down their spines. Recovering, Liu Defu grew even angrier. The cursing on the phone was nonstop. Master, thankfully we had you. I gestured for them to continue driving. The child wanted to save its parents. A single good intention can save a life. These kinds of karmic retributions aren't something that can be explained in a few sentences. Zhang Xin, her eyes red-rimmed, kissed the porcelain doll several times. You saved my life, my child. The porcelain doll continued to giggle. Arriving at Liu Yuling's house, Liu Defu grabbed a golf club from the car and stormed in. Mrs. Liu anxiously followed behind, with Liu Tianyu and Zhang Xin close behind them. I stood still, closing my eyes slightly to sense the surroundings of the villa. The metallic scent of blood was clear. In the sky, crows flew overhead, cawing. When Liu Defu opened the door, an innumerable swarm of flies buzzed out. The pungent smell of decaying corpses was overwhelming, making Liu Defu turn and hug Mrs. Liu, letting out a piercing scream. I quickly stepped a few paces inside the door. Inside, the entire family of 3 was in such a tragic state it was unbearable to look at. From the dining room to the door, a long trail of blood indicated a body had been dragged out, but near the door, it had been pulled back in. Traces of their struggle remained on the floor, utterly horrifying. A shadowy figure vaguely darted out, smashing through the glass door and escaping. Call the police. Everyone stay here and wait for the police. I'm going after him. I moved as fast as the wind, chasing the black shadow into the back garden of the villa. The 5 emperor coins in my hand, not yet bound into a sword, were already enchanted by me. I then scattered them towards the black shadow, 1 coin in each direction, front, back, left, right, up, and down, directly blocking its escape route. Still trying to run? I pulled out my magic ruler and struck the black shadow forcefully. The harder I hit, the more pitifully it shrieked. Finally, the black smoke on its body dissipated, and it fell to the ground, transforming into an ugly Kuman Thong. Disgusted, I picked it up with 1 hand, immediately took out a red cloth and rolled it tightly, wrapping it completely. Just as I relaxed a little, I heard several piercing screams from the front yard of the villa. Damn it! I ran, sweating profusely. As soon as I reached the front yard, I saw a giant black shadow, axe in hand, raised high above Liu Tianyu and Zhang Xin's heads. Both Zhang Xin and Liu Tianyu were injured. Liu Defu and Mrs. Liu were also covered in blood, fallen to one side, their lives uncertain. The huge axe swung down fiercely. Liu Tianyu flipped over, using his entire body to shield Zhang Xin. Zhang Xin screamed, "Liu Tianyu, are you crazy? You'll die." Liu Tianyu said nothing, just held her tightly, refusing to let go. My magic ruler was thrown too far, it hadn't arrived yet. Just as the large axe was about to cleave down on Liu Tianyu's head, a streak of black light shot out from the porcelain doll in Zhang Xin's arms, forming a thin, cicada wing-like shield over Liu Tianyu's head. It only blocked the axe for a few seconds, then shattered like glass and vanished. Although only a brief few seconds, it was just enough time for the magic ruler to fly in front of the black shadow. The magic ruler struck, and the black shadow dispersed. I flew forward, grabbed the shadow's hair, slapped on a talisman, continuously struck 7 lightning seals, and rolled it into a ball with a yellow cloth. Liu Tianyu's parents crawled and scurried to Liu Defu and his wife's side. My ear twitched. My gaze followed the sound towards the second floor. The window curtain slightly moved, and inside were a pair of pitch-black, malevolent eyes. My heart stirred. The controller had been found. I looked at the bodies in the living room, deciding to bypass this route. After all, I was a good citizen and couldn't damage the crime scene. I lightly pushed off the wall, grabbed the decorative eaves outside, pushed off again, and in 2 or 3 agile moves, I was on the second floor. The person, seeing my agility, panicked and quickly ran out. While running, they shouted, "Who exactly are you?" I let out a cold laugh. "Lily, the owner of the Celestial Secrets Pavilion." I was just about to step onto the second-floor balcony to catch the person when I heard a rough shout echoing from afar. "Hey, police, don't move." I, Lily, an enthusiastic citizen, was startled in my heart. My foot slipped, and I almost fell from the second floor. I turned my head to see a team of police officers with guns pointed directly at me on the second floor. "They've surrounded me." My head spun. Grandpa never taught me what to do in this situation. "Officer, the culprit just escaped. He's nearby. I'm chasing him." The familiar-faced officer leading the team looked at me, then gestured to someone next to him, giving a few instructions. I flipped over and jumped from the second floor, landing lightly amidst startled cries. Afterwards, one group of people was taken to the hospital, and another to the police station. The officer, facing me from behind his desk, took a sip of hot water, his eyes on me. "Tell me, what happened? You come here every day." I looked at him seriously, my voice earnest. Liu Tianyu was deceived by his cousin into having a child with Zhang Xin, and then some evil methods were used to harm them and their entire family. Liu Defu, knowing this, brought his family and me to seek justice. The result was that as soon as we entered, we saw blood everywhere and fundamentally dared not go in. The officer looked at me with suspicion. "You dared not go in?" I blinked frantically. I dared, but I was afraid of destroying evidence, so I had them call the police and then went around to the back to check. Afterwards, they were attacked, and I found traces of the culprit on the second floor, so I climbed up, intending to catch him. "So you truly are very enthusiastic." Rubbed my nose, chuckling to dismiss it. The officer's finger tapped his notebook. He frowned. "But why do the Liu family's affairs keep involving you?" My expression became serious, my mind racing. "Fortunately, this time I'm here as a witness." Liu Tianyu, his head bandaged, just then walked in and immediately rushed to explain. "She's my godmother." "Me an officer, huh?" Liu Tianyu was also stunned after saying that, then immediately reaffirmed with a firm gaze. "Yes, she is my godmother." I couldn't help but palm my forehead. The officer looked at Liu Tianyu, then at me. "You're 18, he's 24, you're his godmother." The situation had come to this. What could I do? I could only stubbornly reply, "Yes, precisely because of the age gap, she's my godmother." Even after leaving the police station, Liu Tianyu was still very smug, believing he had come up with a brilliant idea. It was unbearable. Everyone was injured, but I arrived quite promptly, and the most dangerous blow was blocked by the porcelain doll. After getting bandaged and giving statements that evening, a few people sat again at the Liu family home. Zhang Xin showed me the cracked porcelain doll, her eyes red-rimmed, her voice still tinged with sobs. I took it, examining it a few times. "It's no longer effective." Zhang Xin immediately burst into tears. Liu Tianyu hugged her, gently comforting her, but he himself was on the verge of tears. Mr. and Mrs. Liu, now fully aware of the situation, also sighed heavily. "It's all fate. It seems our Liu family is destined to have no descendants." I munched on a cookie, watching them as if they were monkeys, then reached out, broke the red mud seal at the bottom, and took out the card inside. The soul-protecting talisman burned to ashes, but the spirit-cleansing talisman remained intact. My fingers tapped the faded card. I smiled. This little thing's nature isn't bad yet. Liu Defu saw my actions, stunned, and asked, "Master, what are you doing?" I took another unused porcelain doll, repeated the process exactly, and placed the new porcelain doll in Zhang Xin's hands, who looked at me in amazement. "Here, your son, just offer 3 sticks of incense every morning and evening to nourish it, and it will be fine." "So, what did you mean by no longer effective?" "The shell broke, just replace it with another one." Liu Tianyu's eyes suddenly lit up. "Master, why don't we cast one out of gold then?" In that moment, I gritted my teeth a little. Not good at all. I hate rich people. The police reported that the black-robed Chan had illegally entered the country and committed several crimes. Liu Yuling and her son, out of greed, had hired this Chan. Their initial plan was to wipe out Liu Defu's entire family, but unexpectedly, they were too stingy, refusing to pay the full amount and even threatened the black-robed Chan. He was merely an illegal immigrant, not a swindler, and in a fit of rage, brought trouble upon himself. If he hadn't just entered the country a few years ago and his possessions weren't strictly controlled, he wouldn't have had many items left, and the few remaining ones were all captured by me. The police officer truly had a difficult time catching this rogue. Both were retribution. I held 2 cloth bundles, one red and one yellow, lit incense and candles, trod the 7 stars formation, clasped my hands and shouted, "I ask the city god of the capital to judge their lives. Release." 2 streams of golden light suddenly rose from the ground. In a flash, the 2 squirming cloth bundles immediately deflated. After tidying up, as soon as I walked out, I saw Liu Defu approach, offering me a card. "Master, this is a small token of my gratitude." I took it, casually asking, "How much?" Liu Defu scratched his head awkwardly. 30 million yuan. "Master, you didn't hold a grudge about what happened before, so I couldn't be perfunctory." I held the card, stunned. I hate rich people. This matter finally came to an end. I was sitting at the dining table, enjoying the Liu family chef's specialty dishes. My phone suddenly rang. I picked it up casually and heard my major professor shouting from the other end. "Lily, where did you run off to?" Recently, Henan province has continuously discovered several large tombs, and the entire nation is sending archaeological aid to Henan. Did I tell you about this? "You've been out of touch for 3 days, you still?" I shot up from my chair with a whoosh, grabbed my jacket, and ran out. Oh no, I completely forgot I was still a college student. Little Lucky Star wishes everyone a good day. Part 2, Celestial Secrets Pavilion Yin-Yang Corpses. I arrived in Henan for archaeology, burning incense and casting a hexagram to divine the fortune of this trip. Unexpectedly, someone bumped into me, changing the hexagram from minor auspicious to great omen. Seeing the girl's dark gray eyebrows, a sign of impending death, I couldn't help but warn her. "Classmate, I see your eyebrows are dark gray. I'm afraid your life may be in danger soon." She flew into a rage, thinking I was cursing her to a gruesome death. Little did she know, that very evening, something happened at her school. My name is Lily, an archaeology student. Due to my grandpa's passing, I was forced to inherit his shop in the capital, the Celestial Secrets Pavilion, becoming its owner. People often say that an archaeology student who isn't a geomancer isn't a good Celestial Secrets owner. Isn't that right? Just after dealing with the Liu family's troubles, I received a call from my teacher, summoning me to Henan. A large ancient tomb had been discovered in Henan, and the whole country was sending archaeological teams to assist. As a first-year archaeology student, though not qualified for direct contact, I was still brought along by my teacher to broaden my knowledge. As soon as we reached Henan and got off the bus, I pulled out a bundle of incense, intending to use it to cast a hexagram and divine the fortune of this trip. My roommate and classmate, Sun Nan, immediately brightened, leaning in with a curious expression. "Lily, what are you doing?" Sun Nan was the first friend I made at school, and the only one in school who knew my identity as the Celestial Secrets Pavilion owner. Back when Liu Defu, covered in blood, came to the school gate begging me to save his life, she was the one who helped me get permission from the teacher to skip class. Let's see if this trip will be auspicious or ominous. Seeing her curiosity, I didn't hide it. I held the incense sticks with both hands, bowed to the heavens 3 times, respectfully asking heaven and earth. My hand trembled slightly, and the bundle of incense slipped from my palm. My wrist clamped shut, and my 2 hands formed seals, creating a lotus shape. The incense bundle, like a lotus pistol, spontaneously ignited in my palm. My hands relaxed, and the incense fell to the ground, appearing like a celestial maiden scattering flowers. The lingering smoke sketched out a Bagua symbol. Sun Nan exclaimed in surprise, "Wow, the hexagram looks normal, no shock or danger." I breathed a slight sigh of relief. Behind us, another large bus arrived, carrying archaeology students from a different university. Sun Nan and I were standing somewhat out of the way, not obstructing them, but because they were a noisy, bustling crowd, they jostled their way right in front of us. A girl, laughing and talking with someone else, wasn't watching where she was going. As she passed, her footing slipped, and she suddenly bumped hard into Sun Nan's back. Sun Nan stumbled. I caught her arm, but her foot shifted slightly, still kicking the hexagram on the ground. My pupils contracted. The originally peaceful hexagram immediately transformed into a Jai-Can hexagram. Jai-Can, repeated danger, layered peril, a great omen. I spun around, my sharp gaze fixed on the girl who had just bumped into Sun Nan. Under my stare, the girl immediately retorted loudly, "What are you looking at? I just accidentally bumped into her, didn't I?" "I didn't do it on purpose." The girl looked delicate, with a small, refined face, but a closer look revealed a very narrow yin-tang, space between eyebrows, thin lips, and a narrow chin. According to physiognomy, this indicated a narrow-minded person, lacking tolerance, strong jealousy, and a cunning mind despite being articulate. When personal interests were involved, she often disregarded all limits, becoming excessively harsh. The doctrine of the mean says, "People all say I am wise, but when driven into a trap or a deep pit, they don't know how to avoid it. People all say I am wise, choosing the path of the mean, but cannot maintain it for a month." Anything taken to an extreme is not the mean. It means stepping into repeated dangers, falling into the Jai-Can hexagram. Seeing me still staring at her, the girl accompanying her stepped forward to apologize. Sorry, classmate, my friend didn't mean to." Sun Nan waved her hand, afraid I would get into a conflict with someone, and tugged my sleeve. "It's okay, it was just an accidental bump." The girl, realizing her mistake and seeing we said nothing more, turned to walk towards her group of classmates. She had barely taken 2 steps and exited my aura when I saw her complexion instantly change from overcast to dark gray, a clear omen of impending death. Seeing this situation, I frowned, a thought flashing through my mind. Finally, I quickly took 2 steps, pulled her sleeve, and spoke frankly. "Classmate, I see your eyebrows are dark gray. I'm afraid your life may be in danger soon." The air suddenly fell silent. Sun Nan was startled. She immediately pulled my sleeve, retreating, her small frame even standing in front of me, continuously waving her hands, explaining to the other party, "Don't be angry, my friend has always been a bit mysterious, don't mind her." I wanted to explain a few more things to the girl, to clarify the seriousness of the situation. But just then, the bus to pick us up arrived, and Sun Nan dragged me away. As soon as we got on the bus, she looked at me seriously. "Lily, you can't just blurt things out like that. If we hadn't run quickly, I felt that girl was about to pounce and tear your mouth off." Seeing me frown tightly, Sun Nan couldn't help but ask curiously, "You said she was in danger of losing her life? Is it true or false?" I nodded. "The hexagram was a great omen." Sun Nan didn't understand this, but hearing "great omen," she still couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Sun Nan thought for a very long time, then took out a chocolate bar from her bag for me to eat, then advised me in a sincere voice, "Lily, I know your abilities, but outsiders don't. If you just speak so directly, they'll be scared." I bit into the chocolate. Seeing that she had a point, I nodded. "Okay, then next time I'll wrap it up a bit more nicely." Sun Nan looked at me with a satisfied smile. She was clearly a girl, but I suddenly felt she was a bit like old Grandpa Liu. It was really hard to say. We said nothing all the way to the mountaintop. This time, the ancient tomb complex to be excavated was located on a mountaintop in Henan, covering a vast area. Going up and down the mountain would be too time-consuming, and fearing rain would damage the artifacts, the universities discussed and decided to set up camp on site. Each area was assigned to a university, and everything was already divided. The remaining area outside the yellow line was for professors, teachers, and students to set up tents. While setting up tents, for some reason, the yin energy in this place, where an ancient tomb had long rested, was unreasonably abundant. What was even stranger was that despite such heavy yin energy, there was also a phenomenon of converging yang energy. I frowned, always feeling that something was off. Fearing something might wander into the wrong tent at night, I casually slipped a peace of mind talisman under each tent pole, one at each corner. East, west, south, and north. Sun Nan, sharp-eyed, spotted it and immediately, without formality, leaned over to ask, "Lily, what are these talismans for?" she asked, but her eyes clearly said, "Quick, give me some, give me some." I looked at her puppy dog eyes, found it amusing, and deliberately tried to scare her. This ancient tomb has been here for ages, and the yin energy is too heavy. At night, some people with weak bazi, 8 characters of birth, might unluckily encounter good brothers, and those with rotten peach blossoms might even attract ghosts looking to escape celibacy, creating an unfinished human-ghost romance. She shivered, immediately pulled out the tent pole she had just pitched, and loudly exclaimed in fear, "Quick, give me a few, I'm a college student." As for why Sun Nan was so afraid, it's because last time she asked me to divine her love life. I saw her true love wouldn't arrive until she was 25, but I didn't want to dampen her enthusiasm, so I casually lied that she had many rotten peach blossoms to make her settle down a bit. Our classmates, seeing this, thought it was better to be safe than sorry and all rushed over, asking for a few talismans. Sun Nan, afraid she wouldn't get any, even yelled, "Don't fight over them. Don't fight. They're not eggs." If that attitude were applied to studying, everyone would have PhDs by now. While distributing the peace of mind talismans, I suddenly heard someone next to me sneer. "We're all college students. Why are you still indulging in superstitious nonsense? Is there something wrong with your head?" I turned my head. It was indeed a narrow road for enemies, the very classmate who had kicked my hexagram when getting off the bus. The excavation of the ancient tomb was divided by university. Unfortunately, her university's section was right next to ours, and this area was quite large, meaning 2 universities were excavating together. Sun Nan looked at me nervously, repeatedly waving her hands, indicating she didn't want me to get into a conflict with anyone else. I hummed, touched my nose, seeing the dark bone, forehead on that girl was even thicker. With good intentions, I offered her a talisman. If you believe it's effective, if not, it's not. Consider it a bit of spiritual comfort. The classmate next to the girl, Jiang Yun, had a very good personality. She reached out, took it, and put it in Wang Lan's hand, the girl who bumped the hexagram. "Lan, keep it. They have good intentions." Wang Lan, however, angrily slapped the talisman out of her friend's hand, her voice shrill. "Jiang Yun, are you crazy? You give me any filthy thing? Good intentions. Wasn't she the one who cursed me to an early death this afternoon? Maybe this talisman is what she's using to curse me. Can you use your brain a little?" I was a little dazed. I had only spoken the truth. Sun Nan, seeing the talisman dropped, also got angry. She walked over, pulled my arm back, and grumbled furiously as we walked, "That ungrateful person, pay less attention to her. Even if you want to save someone, you have to see if they're appreciative or not." Wang Lan still wanted to curse more. Jiang Yun was also a little annoyed. She casually picked up the item, intending to return it to me, but seeing that Sun Nan had already pulled me away, she had no choice but to slip the peace of mind talisman into her pocket, planning to give it back to me when she saw me again. Where are troubles most likely to occur? Answer: where college students gather. In the middle of the night, I was lying down, preparing to sleep, when I heard people making noise in the distance. I lifted the tent flap and saw a group of people from Wang Lan's university area sitting in a circle, each telling chilling horror stories. I moved into a new apartment on the 17th floor. That night, I heard someone knocking on the door while I was sleeping. I turned on the light, squinted, and followed the sound. What appeared before me was actually a window. A male student lowered his voice, and combined with the dark, windy mountaintop night, it truly created a spooky atmosphere. Seeing no danger, I turned to go back to sleep. Just as I took one step, I heard Wang Lan's annoying voice. "What's scary about that? I say, what's more thrilling than playing a summoning game in an ancient tomb area?" Not to mention summoning spirits, but summoning spirits in an ancient tomb area? Everyone felt a little scared. Wang Lan scornfully scoffed. "No way, haven't you guys ever played these games? I say, if you want a real thrill, what's more exciting than summoning spirits in an ancient tomb? We haven't even seen ghosts yet, let alone doing archaeology, honestly." Jiang Yun, a little scared, cringed and pulled Wang Lan's arm, quietly advising, Lan, let's not. This place is eerie." "What's there to be afraid of? We're all archaeology students. Why are you still so superstitious? Besides, isn't there a master here? She can definitely keep us safe." I was standing quite far away, yet still got dragged into it. Jiang Yun looked towards me, her eyes apologetic. Another girl who had a good relationship with Wang Lan probably heard Wang Lan talk about my achievements. She also chimed in sarcastically. Exactly. I heard the master even hands out talismans to classmates. Ah, give me 2 for protection too. When she said talismans, her voice was drawn out and emphasized, implying heavy sarcasm rather than genuinely asking for talismans for peace of mind. My expressions slightly chilled. If your heart isn't sincere, taking them is useless. With that, I ignored that self-destructive group and turned back to my tent. A moment later, it was silent outside. The tent fabric rustled slightly in the wind. A mournful female voice drawn out called my name. Lily, Lily. I didn't even open my eyes, I simply called out her name. Sun Nan, if you don't sleep now, you won't be able to sleep tonight. Seeing she couldn't scare me, she somewhat boredly returned to her tent. Oh, recognized immediately, how boring. But why won't I be able to sleep? I felt a cold current of air approaching from a distance. I closed my eyes and replied, It's midnight, the hour of the rat. It's when ghosts appear. Sun Nan let out an oh my and quickly burrowed into her sleeping bag. You've given me goosebumps with what you said. Before falling asleep, she still muttered softly, HMPH, that Wang Lan said you were superstitious, but she playing a summoning game isn't superstitious? Double standards. The next day, just as dawn broke, everyone was still asleep when a sudden, miserable scream echoed through the campsite. Ah! I suddenly opened my eyes, my hand reaching for the magic staff at my waist. A thought flashed through my mind. Something has happened. When I stepped out of my tent, many students from my university had already woken up, looking in horror towards the adjacent university's section. I looked towards Wang Lan. A faint wave of yin energy approached from afar, until it reached our spot, then suddenly vanished. I took 2 steps forward, bent down, and picked up a handful of black ash from the ground. It smelled of burnt decay. It's a mountain ghost. What is a mountain ghost? Lily, mountain ghosts are those who died tragically in the mountains long ago or committed suicide and had no relatives to collect their bodies, unable to find their way home in the mountains. Over time, they become the ghosts of that mountain. I was lost in thought when I felt someone very close, their breath on my cheek. I spun around to see a disheveled, pale face with dark circles under the eyes. My heart leaped. I quickly jumped back a step. Once I clearly saw it was a person, I breathed a sigh of relief, gently patted her face, and pushed her away. You scared me to death, big sis. Sun Nan seemed to know her complexion wasn't good at the moment. She scratched her messy hair, then nervously pulled her blanket closer. What's wrong over there? What happened? I shook my head slightly, put a chocolate bar into my mouth, my voice a little muffled. I don't know, probably nothing big. Afterward, Sun Nan and I went over and saw the miserable sight of H University's archaeology department. Sun Nan grimaced, turning to look at me, her mouth exaggeratedly asking, Nothing big? I crunched my chocolate and nodded. If no one died, then aren't they all minor issues? My gaze went past Sun Nan, meeting Wang Lan, who was staring at a mirror with a horrified expression not far away. Seeing me, she threw the mirror away and ran straight towards me. Her voice was shrill and piercing. She was almost driven mad. It's all your fault. You must have played a trick in the middle of the night. Otherwise, why would I have been shaved bald overnight? Indeed, in H University's archaeology department, where Wang Lan studied overnight regardless of gender, everyone had their heads partially shaved. At this moment, with her head patchy with bald spots, she grabbed my collar, demanding an explanation. Her classmates, hearing this, all looked at me suspiciously. Sun Nan was stunned for a moment, then immediately stood beside me to defend me. How can you falsely accuse others? Lily slept right next to me all night. You slept in the same tent as her, Wang Lan retorted, and seeing Sun Nan hesitate, immediately seized the advantage. You guys weren't sleeping together, so how can you prove she didn't do it? I frowned slightly, freed my collar from Wang Lan's grasp, and said softly, I didn't do it. If not you, then who? Wang Lan still wanted to rush forward and scuffle with me, but was held back by a classmate behind her. She could only growl powerlessly at me. Last night you said something would happen, and it did. I think you just wanted to scare people, pretending to be a geomancer and secretly shaving our heads in the middle of the night. I was speechless and couldn't help but roll my eyes a little. I warned you, but you didn't listen and went ahead with summoning spirits. Now it's playing games with you and you're blaming me. Isn't that a bit unreasonable? The girl behind her timidly asked in a low voice. G-Games, who's playing games with us? Hearing this, Wang Lan exploded again. You still believe her ghostly words? There are no ghosts in this world. If there really were ghosts and it dared to show its face to me, I'd eat it right then and there. Woken up early in the morning, and then falsely accused of shaving heads in the middle of the night, I suddenly felt annoyed. Most importantly, I was hungry. If I didn't eat on time, something wouldn't be well behaved. Whoever you summoned last night, that's who's playing with you now. Sun Nan, truly a good roommate, immediately noticed my mood. She pulled out a small packet of panji bread from her bosom. Lily, here you go. I bit into the soft bread. It was very thoughtful. Sun Nan's eyes immediately welled up. My best friend, so what was it last night? Someone seemed to finally believe, speaking softly, secretly looking around as if afraid something was lurking among the classmates. Orange-flavored mini bread, my absolute favorite? I smiled, my eyes crinkling, and replied in a good mood. It's nothing, just a head-shaving ghost. It won't harm you. At most, it just didn't finish playing last night, so it's playing again today. H University's archaeology department at most. While the classmates were pulling at a stunned Wang Lan, she suddenly broke free, reaching out and grabbing Sun Nan's messy hair. Sun Nan, caught off guard, shrieked as Wang Lan pulled her. My eyes turned cold. I pushed Wang Lan away forcefully, shielding Sun Nan behind me. Seeing this, Wang Lan immediately pointed at Sun Nan. You said it was a head-shaving ghost, so why wasn't her head shaved? Do ghosts know people too? If you have a good relationship with her, they don't shave your head. I think even if it was a head-shaving ghost, you were the one directing it to shave heads. She didn't believe me, and cursing me was one thing, but her laying hands on my friend was unacceptable. Don't be so stubbornly unreasonable. Yesterday, you touched my hexagram, changing it from minor auspicious to great omen. I haven't even settled that with you, and you're still here falsely accusing others. What hexagram? It's all just stuff you use to scare people. I don't believe in any great omen, Wang Lan shouted, her face looking as if she wanted to fight me. Her mental state was clearly unstable. Going too far would lead to disaster. I snorted coldly, turned my head, not wanting to speak to someone seeking their own demise, but suddenly heard a hoarse, sleepy voice. What are you guys arguing about? Looking towards the source of the sound, I saw Jiang Yun's tent not far away being unzipped. Jiang Yun rubbed her eyes, sleepily emerging, her hair completely intact. Seeing the bald heads of her classmates, she immediately jumped up in fright. You guys, where did all your hair go? A classmate came forward to explain the situation and Wang Lan's suspicions about me. Jiang Yun glanced at me, then said softly, I don't think this classmate is that kind of person. Moreover, in such a large crowd, it would be very difficult to shave everyone's heads without disturbing anyone. Little Lucky Star wishes everyone a good day. Hearing this, Wang Lan began to shift her attack. Yesterday you spoke up for her, and today your hair is still intact. Everyone in the department had their heads shaved, only you are normal. Aren't you her accomplice? Jiang Yun was stunned, her face flushed, but didn't know how to refute. Wang Lan immediately attacked more aggressively. I think you and she did it together last night. Lan, you? Jiang Yun was so furious her face turned red and her eyes welled up. She turned away from Wang Lan and walked towards me. Classmate, the talisman you gave Wang Lan yesterday, I picked it up. Here, I'm returning it to you. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a handful of black ashes from her breast pocket. I clearly put this in my pocket, but how did it turn into ashes? I, hungry and chewing on a packet of chewy cookies, glanced at her. You picked it up, and it helped you protect your hair. Consider it your destiny. Sun Nan suddenly shrieked. Ah, no wonder all of us from a university are fine. Last night each of us took talismans from Lily. The classmates from our department who came to gawk all agreed in unison. Wang Lan, hearing this, still wanted to argue. Unfortunately, the teachers in charge of both sides arrived. Our side was still okay. After all, we were just woken up early to gossip. H University, however, was miserable. Everyone sported patchy bald heads, their moods not yet stable, and without breakfast they had to start the excavation work. The most shocked person was their head teacher, who, upon seeing them, was startled and immediately uttered a fatal remark. HMPH, did I lead a team from Shaolin Temple here? The entire H University Archaeology Department, do you think you're very funny, teacher? Before fully equipping ourselves to enter the site, an expert used scanning equipment to probe inside the tomb. Standing near the scanner, I could hear their astonished voices. Why is there a fluctuation here? It seems there's a living entity inside. Oh, come on, a living entity in a Western Zhou tomb? You might as well say you're Qin Shi Huang. Come here and look. This really isn't right. The person obstructing my view moved. I saw the tomb's scanning image in the center of the screen. The outer structure of the tomb formed the 8 trigrams, and in the center of the inner circle, where the coffin should have been, was a yin-yang fish symbol. But now, that yin-yang fish symbol had a blinking red dot, as if a living person was breathing. My expression grew serious. I sat upright, facing the direction our two departments were responsible for exploring, which happened to be the Jai Can hexagram repeated danger. My fingers continuously formed seals, my eyes tightly closed. As the speed of my finger seals increased, my brows furrowed tighter. Sun Nan approached from a distance, calling me. When she saw my expression, she was startled and quietly asked, "Lily, what's wrong?" My forehead was sweating. My fingers, pressing so hard they were white, suddenly stopped. I abruptly opened my eyes. Yin and Yang. The crucial danger point of the hexagram was now clear to me. Opening my spiritual eyes and looking at the computer, it was a completely different scene. The Yang eye, ordinary human eye, only saw a red dot, but the Yin eye saw that in the absolute center of the yin-yang fish symbol, the left and right sides were rotating at a speed imperceptible to the naked eye, then converging at the center. This was the qi within this Western Zhou tomb. In the tomb chamber, there was an interchange and transformation of yang and yin qi, an attempt to naturally transcend and escape the 6 realms of reincarnation. I gripped Sun Nan's hand, my voice urgent. "Where are the teachers and head teachers?" Sun Nan, looking bewildered, pointed to a spot not far away. "They just arrived, and a few professors said they found a natural collapse over there, so they went in that direction." Mid-sentence, as if suddenly realizing something, she fell silent. "Lily, you don't mean?" I secretly cried out. "This is bad." I no longer bothered to hide. My feet lightly touched the ground, and I flipped onto the crane gate. From above, observing the surroundings, I saw the teachers and professors in the due north direction, with archaeology students from both universities behind them. Seeing them heading towards that cave opening that revealed pitch-black yin energy, I immediately shouted, "Don't go in, it's dangerous inside." Everyone below was stunned, looking around, but couldn't find who spoke. Only Wang Lan seemed to recognize my voice. She looked up at me, then glanced and took a step forward, saying something to H University's teacher, and everyone continued to move. I frowned, a little worried, and leaped down. Amidst the bus driver's frightened cries, I landed lightly in front of everyone, startling them. I held out my hand to block them. "You can't go in." Wang Lan scoffed. "You say we can't go and we just listen to you. On what authority?" The teachers' and classmates' eyes also focused on me, waiting for my explanation. I exhaled softly, my words serious. "If I'm not mistaken, there's a pair of Yin-Yang corpses being nurtured in the central coffin of the tomb." Wang Lan looked derisive. "Are you crazy? Do you really think you're some kind of master? Do you know how much it costs to run this equipment for one day? Can you afford the delay?" She said, then pulled the teachers from both universities, wanting to go in, but I blocked her with my hand. Professor Sun, a leading and highly reputable archaeology expert in the country, frowned, his expression somewhat displeased. He glanced at my teacher, his tone a little reproachful. "Teacher Wang, is this how you teach your students now? Do you just let them mess around?" My teacher smiled conciliatorily, his face flustered. "Professor, you see, they're just kids. Just lively, they like these strange things. Don't worry, I'll immediately tell her to step aside. It absolutely won't delay progress." He finished, then winked at me repeatedly. If it were a minor issue, letting them go in would be fine. At most, it would be a little troublesome later. But this was a Western Zhou tomb, and the Yin-Yang corpse nurtured inside. No one knew how old it was, nor its cultivation level. Letting them go in like that would surely lead to deaths. I shook my head, my tone firm. "No, absolutely not." My teacher immediately twitched at the corner of his eye, walked over, and whispered to me, "Why is this girl so stubborn? What era are we in? How can there be a zombie?" "My child, Grandpa." Before my teacher could finish, he heard Sun Nan's cheerful voice running from the other side, darting straight into Professor Sun's arms. Professor Sun, who had just been angry with me in front of Sun Nan, immediately changed his demeanor. The grandfather and granddaughter whispered to each other for a while. Sun Nan kept pointing at me, her eyes sparkling. Professor Sun looked at me repeatedly. Finally, after whatever Sun Nan said, he nodded, his expression awkward. He walked over, nodded to everyone, and cleared his throat. "Well, I think the young student makes a good point. This